Alrighty, and here is the video review for Transformers Prime Beast Hunters LAZERBACK. This is my first Beast Hunters figure. And for his first figure, he's not bad. Quality-wise, he feels pretty solid. I've heard reports of flimsy plastic, and I don't... Maybe I'm just not as prone to touch knowledge as I thought, but it feels just fine to me. One of the things you'll notice is it's got this pretty orange instruction sheet along with Chapter 2 of a story over here. Like, there's actually some backstory that is, as you can see, it says, this is Chapter 3, continued from Chapter 2, Deluxe Soundwave. So, I don't know who has Chapter 1, maybe Bumblebee or Wheeljack, obviously. But here's some info on his Toxic Strike Blaster. It disintegrates most armor. Double Blast can melt massive targets in seconds. And its acidic fumes can cause unprotected circuits to short out, so look out for that. Now, it's continued in Chapter 4, Deluxe Wheeljack, so obviously Bumblebee has the first story, part of the story. But basically it's telling you that LAZERBACK's story is he's basically Eric Cartman, and whatever, he can do what he wants. He's kind of a chaotic beast character, but just like there's a Predacon symbol. It's a very different type of transformation sheet. I guess more primal for the Beast Hunters line, if you want to think of it that way. But I really like orange. Orange is one of my favorite colors, if not my actual favorite color, so it doesn't hurt that they made the instructions orange. But yeah, so the instruction sheets are a little different than your standard Transformers picture at the top, photo. I mean, they are still the gray photos for the transformation, but just a little different from Kickbacks there. Just a little bit of a change. A welcome one. I mean, but one that ultimately, at the end of the day, is not a huge deal. Probably less of a deal than I'm even making of it here. Anyway, on to LAZERBACK. He's a four-legged... I think all the Predacons so far are supposed to be various versions of dragons. This one looks vaguely like Cerberus from Robots in Disguise. Not the Prime version, but the old original version, back in early 2001. But it's yellow, purple, and red. He almost looks like he bust out of McDonald's or something somewhere. But design-wise, he's kind of cool. He doesn't have any wings, unless you want to count, like, when you open up his blaster. I guess you could kind of count those as wings when those flip open. But he's more of a ground dragon. He's kind of like a bird, dragon, lizard thing, but he's kind of neat. I like some of the design elements of him. He's got a beak. His mouth does open and close, and his head does have a little bit of a tilt to it. His head's supposed to tab on back here, and I have yet to successfully get that to stay all the way tabbed in place, which doesn't really hurt anything horrible, but just FYI. I mean, he does have. You can see his robot mode hands here up on his forearms or shins. He does have the new Predacon logo here on the shoulder blades, on each shoulder panel over here. Some little spiky things. What's neat is funny on the package, and I forgot to bring it in, is the callbacks or the callouts on the back of the packaging are very clearly written by somebody who was like, "Here's a picture. Describe this guy." Because aside from the name Toxic Strike Blaster, which is supposedly this thing on his back, it's really obvious that, like, this person was given no information and was just said, like, here's a picture of the toy, tell us about it. Because it's like, fires 2 missiles, which one, looking at him, you would think that, yes, he fires 2 missiles. He does not. That is 1 missile in there. So clearly they didn't communicate that. Also, tail becomes whip, which is also very obvious from the pictures on the back of the box. I'm surprised there weren't other call-outs like, is red, yellow, and purple. Has 4 legs, in big bursts with exclamation points, because, like, I haven't read any of the other Beast Hunter packaging backgrounds, but it's clearly, at least for him, they just showed him a picture and said, describe this. Make it sound exciting. And he's not unexciting. I think the colors are a little vibrant, I guess, a little overly vibrant for each other. The red and purple doesn't look too bad. Some of the gold highlights are decent. The yellow especially sticks out on the red and purple body. But I'm looking forward to Ripclaw. We've seen Ripclaw, and I think we've seen one Predaking, obviously. I thought we'd seen another one of the Predacons, but maybe not. But if they're all going to be various types of dragons, like, I'm kind of in on that. I like dragons, too. Anyway, on to transformation, you go ahead and pop this off. And then we're going to lift up his laser gun. And his laser gun can come up and deploy in both Dragon mode. It can also sit over his back in robot mode. But you bring that up, and that lets you flip this tail piece up right here. And then you basically just bring the legs down. They don't straighten. He does kind of have the chicken leg syndrome going on. But you want to flip this all the way up as far as it can go. And push this. And again, this snaps into place up here at this joint. It doesn't down here right here in the shin. So while he does have a ball jointed ankle and you can get some decent poses out of him, you're going to find you keep bending this because it's you want him to stand a little bit straighter, and you just can't do it unless you bend that, and then it looks stupid because this is all gappy right there. But whatever. So one of the drawbacks to the leg design. Make sure that snaps up. Then you go ahead and pin the waist together here. There's a tab on one side that pegs into a slot in the other. So you kind of have to... That's pretty much as straight as his leg's going to get there. And still be able to stand. Yeah, and this is where it gets kind of difficult. You want to split the shoulders out. And like this is not the hard part. Splitting these out is not difficult at all. But and then flip this piece out. But sometimes this whole yellow assembly just snaps in up here at the top of this red piece. And sometimes when you're folding the head down, it likes to pop out. You kind of want to make sure you have the robot head all the way back, and then fold this, lift this up. There's a hinge here and a hinge here. You want to kind of push it down like this, and then slide it in back like that. If you try to do it any other way, and you do want to make sure his head goes behind these red pieces. It does not sit in front. Otherwise, it'll pop off, and you want to be able to close these hinges here. But once that's done, then you can just close these back up like this and flip this panel up on the outside. This piece can fold back behind his head. And these pieces here, the little frilly pieces, they do rotate, so if you want, you can. And there's even a little slot for them down here, so you can rotate that down and out of the way if you don't want those sticking up in robot mode. And then the arms are fairly simple. Bring them up. You can bring up these shoulder pads. I like to bring them all the way up, just to give them some kind of flare up here, but bring them up instead of having them folded down. They're hinged up. You can fold them out a little bit. And then the feet, and here's another problem, like the hands fold out, and that in and of itself is not all that hard. These are just little slotted on little circular pegs, and a lot of times when you try to rotate them there, that was fine. I've had a lot of times something caught in there, and it may have just been a burr of plastic that has since worked itself out, but a lot of times when I was trying to rotate these wrists, instead of rotating, they would just pop off. Not twist in a damaging way, but like they would just like to pop right off the peg there. And again, like I said, that could have been just a plastic thing because that was much easier than it was earlier. So there may have just been a little burr of plastic in there that was causing, and then see that was fine too. So that's probably the case. There was probably just a little extra plastic that, over the course of playing with it today, has either worn down or popped out. But just a heads up, it's not supposed to do that. Now the gun can sit over his back. You can open up these. You saw earlier. You can open up these. They're kind of a soft, rubbery stuff, but you can open that up to look like the gun is more integrated into his body, or at least opened up, ready to fire. Lift him up just a little bit there. But the gun also does unpeg from the back. You can leave that folded up. You can rotate it around, store it down, but then you're going to have the missile sticking out over the head. But you can open it up, and again, firing the missile. It says fires 2 missiles. It fires 1 missile. Although it does look like it may be supposed to be like 2 little... Like if you ignored the actual missile part of it, it does look like it may be a couple different little acid spits coming out. Which really doesn't make it a laser. It makes it should be called acid back. But, or spitter back, but... Now when you plug it in, like there is a hollow part in his arm up here that doesn't quite allow for the missile to fit all the way back there. You could probably just trim the missile, which honestly I may end up doing now that I think about it, because you don't need all this. But it doesn't quite allow it to fit in his hand. You kind of have to put it over to the side. Again, a drawback, because I don't really like the way it looks over his back in robot mode. I like it coming up over his back in Dragon mode. In robot mode, I'm not a real big fan of it just sitting up here. It just seems like too much up top. But I also don't like the fact that he has to hold it at an angle if he wants to hold it properly with the missile inside of it. But again, trim that missile right there, which I will most likely do, just a little bit, and he could hold it normally. And then his tail, again, his tail is that soft rubbery stuff, so you want to make sure, when I first tried to put it in his hand, and it's a standard peg here, the peg was bending out of the way, and it was trying to sit closer up in his hand, and it wasn't fitting right. So you do want to make sure that you get it lined up. It helps if you flip it over. Make sure you get it lined up with the hand before you push it down in there. And it takes a little bit of doing. But yeah, you can attach it to the hand there and give him a whip, tail whip, cool whip. You're eating hair. Anyway. Yeah. So there's Laserback in robot mode. He's short, he's stumpy, he's got the chicken legs. Gur's going to eat him. But, like I said, there's some interesting design stuff going on here. I don't know, like, Laserback does not appear to be the epitome of the Predacon design. Ripclaw is looking pretty good. I know when we saw the final design, some of the colors were a little more vibrant than we expected from the first promo shots, but I'm really digging the design of Laserback. Or not Laserback, of Ripclaw. Excuse me. I completely forgot her name there for a second. But he's got a really nice, his head is you can see is on this ball joint. That's really nice. A lot of range of movement in his robot mode head. So that's a plus right there. And again, very poseable. Ball jointed shoulders. You got hinges and swivels here right at the elbow. The wrists are on a swivel. Again, limited here by the weapons themselves. But for the most part, I mean, like these pieces you can fold out of the way if they're getting to be problematic. You can't actually. I was hoping maybe you could twist them around, but there's no joint there for that. Ball joint hips. And again, the legs, there's a swivel at the knee. All kinds of hinges in the legs, but for practical purposes, you're probably, I mean, you probably get some crazy poses out of him. Stability-wise, you're probably not going to go a whole lot off of model to get him to stand up. He does have these skinny little legs. He almost looks like Foghorn Leghorn down here. Boy, I'll say boy. So yeah, I guess that really is, like, especially looking at him on camera, because from looking at him in person at this angle, I'm kind of looking down at him like this, and it's not as obvious. Looking at him on camera with these skinny little legs, it looks like somebody like pulled his pants up around his knees or something because he's going wading or something. So, not the strongest design. Not a bad design, but not the strongest design. I still think Kickback is cooler of the backs I got today. But yeah. He's our first Predacon from the Beast Hunters line. So there's something to be said for that, I guess. Not much, but something to be said for it. So yeah, kind of cool, kind of eh. He really, he's not one I wouldn't rush out to get him. I don't think he's worth, well, I don't know. They're raising prices, so he may not be worth the full price. I think if you have to choose between him and Ripclaw, I think I'd go with Ripclaw. Even sight unseen, Ripclaw just looks like a better figure. But not too bad. But there he is, Transformers Beast Hunters Laserback.